As I came in this morning and I looked at all of the very important people in the crowd, and I looked at my cohort that's making a presentation here today, I said, how did we get here? What are we doing here? And then I looked at Secretary Chopra and I said, who can ever deny Secretary Chopra? So anyway, we're here to talk a little bit about transformation. We've heard about, we've defined or at least discussed what the boundaries of transformation are for the Commonwealth, and we're here to talk a little bit about, from an agency perspective, we've heard the NG VITA perspective, what from an agency perspective do we need to work together with the partnership for success through transformation. And we put together PowerPoint on what we think is a template for success. First of all, you have to start with the givens, and the further you get into it, if you haven't even started or you're about to begin, the one big given is it's hard work for everybody. There's a lot of work that needs to go on, and it's not transparent. That word transparent has become everybody's favorite new word, but this entire transformation really isn't transparent to anybody. It involves Northrop Grumman, VITA, agency IT personnel, agency staff, and then, of course, all of our agency stakeholders. One of the biggest keys to success, and we've heard that NG has their project plan, one of the successes from an agency perspective is to make sure that those project plans are shared. I think all of us in the room have had varying levels of exposure to the project plans. What we believe is we need to make sure that they're collaborative, which means they have the steps involved from the NG VITA perspective as well as the agency steps, because again, it's hard work. There's work involved from the agency perspective that has to be planned, documented. They need to be realistic. What can we really get done when we make the commitment to get it done? What does the plan actually need to look like? It needs to be two words that we haven't heard a lot of, and I think we wanted to make sure we introduce these two words. They need to be negotiated and approved. I think a lot of the project plans that agencies have had interaction with have been, here's the plan, let's go forward. We haven't negotiated what our side's going to look like, and we haven't come to a mutual agreement many times for signing off and making approvals to the plan. Once you have an approved and negotiated project plan, you need to make sure that you revisit it regularly to make sure that it's still realistic and on target. You need to also make sure that we incorporate lessons learned not only from your own agency, but what the partnership may see when they go to other agencies that may impact your agency plan. And we need to make sure that we're all committed once we have a negotiated and approved the plan to get the job done, because I think we're all in agreement that getting to the nirvana of transformation is going to be good for everybody. One of the four, I think, best management practices that our group conspired on or agreed on is the agency points of contact. We all have to identify who they are for your projects or project, and we must be able to make sure that those staff can realize that it's going to be a significant resource commitment and a lot of time involved. Communication, as we've talked about, the communication needs to be always. The project plans right now as written are a bit tower-centric. We need to make sure that there's communication on all of the project plans over all of the towers, be it messaging, desktop, etc. We need to make sure that we invoke good project management fundamentals, meaning that we regularly review, again, negotiate, having gone through, as we go through our projects, as things come up, we need to be able to, again, approve, negotiate, and document scope changes. And then as issues come up, depending on the severity, we need to make sure as agencies we work with the partnership to escalate agency-specific issues so they are documented and addressed timely. Starting from, we're going to hear from DEQ, taxation, and Museum of Fine Arts. And we just wanted to kind of show some of our, since we're in varying levels of transformation, some of the lessons learned that agencies might find valuable and be able to use as moving forward with the transformation effort. In 2000, actually DEQ has been in a stage of transformation really since 2005. In 2005, we moved 30 or 40 of our servers to the RPB. And then in 2007, we moved those servers to CESC. The beauty of that was it was very successful. One of the reasons why was time was on our side. So back in 2005, we did good project management fundamentals. We put together detailed project plans that were both collaborative with the agency and among Northrop Grumman as well as VITA. It was quite a detailed project plan. It was quite the undertaking for us. I think it helped NG and VITA have some lessons learned moving forward with other server transformations, and we found that to be a success. Lo and behold, come the beginning of 2008 for my agency, having gone through that success, I thought, I had heard these words, transparent, it's going to be, we've done this, we know what we're doing. However, the next phases of transformation were not quite as smooth as our server moves. We are currently about 90% complete with most of our transformation efforts, with the exception of a couple of things that I saved for last, that being messaging and help desk. And that's agency specific, why I wanted help desk to go kind of last, as well as messaging. Messaging for DEQ is a bit complex with Active Directory and the way we use it within the agency. So had I known then what I know now, I would have made sure that we had a detailed project plan for all of those transformation efforts that involved both the NG and VITA steps as well as the agency steps, because it is a resource hog. To do it right, you really need the commitment, and you need to understand what needs to be done and at what time. Since then, we have made it through various stages of transformation, and one of the keys is to make sure that all of the points of contact are working closely together. Your ADM, your points of contact, your ADER, everybody within the agency knows what's going on, at least to some degree. And we need to make sure that it continues to be a collaborative effort. We have a good project plan, there's good communication, and there's good collaboration within the agency, with NG, and within the towers. Some of the lessons learned that we have, again, we started in 2008 and we're well into 2009 with two big things left to get us to June 30th. Our experience early on was communication was erratic at best. We had a lot of meetings. Some of the meetings, because the plan seemed to be tower-centric, we would meet with a couple of different groups and talk about some of the same topics and sometimes get some conflicting information. Since then, things have gotten better because now we've had a better communication flow. We have a good ADM on staff. I've got a good agency point of contact, and I have a good agency AOM. One of the other lessons learned that we want to make sure that what might have happened to us doesn't happen to some of the other agencies, particularly the large agencies that are rolling into transformation very shortly with some very big high-profile applications. Make sure that you have rollback plans. For us, we went through network transformation back in June, and it was for some of our larger regional offices. We have 8 locations, rocky at best as far as the network capability before and after transformation. But at that point, I was transformed. I couldn't go back to the old network. We didn't have a rollback plan. It took 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months actually for us to get our network back to where it was before we transformed. Another lesson learned, which happened for us for desktop early on, make sure that the folks that are supporting your staff are aware of the applications that are being transformed. Again, hopefully lesson learned that we had that has been resolved, but we continue to be faced with some of these issues. The network slowness, I think I've heard some other agencies experience the same problem. Hopefully now we've come as a Commonwealth in understanding what some of those issues are, and the next agencies won't have those kind of issues. But for me, I know with my messaging transformation, PST files, if everybody's familiar with what they are, basically your business-related emails that you need to keep as part of your file management. We're having some issues with where they need to be stored, and I don't know that we have resolved with where they're going to be stored, because as I understand, they shouldn't be stored on network drives because that attributes to some of the network slowness. So we hope to have that information as we roll into messaging, so we don't have any problems there. One of the other big things that we experienced that we don't think is continuing, but is a good lessons learned for us, don't continue to go through transformation when you hit snags, because you can't really figure out what the issue is. For us, the network slowness, we were then asked to put another application on, but I was like, we really need to figure out why the network's acting the way it is. Is it Blue Coat? Is it this new security? Is it Altiris? Is it Preventia? What is it? Try to isolate what the problems are before you move through other stages of transformation. And then last big one that I think everybody's coming to realize: never assume that any of the changes you're going to make for an agency are going to be transparent to the agency. We all have our unique business processes, the way we run our agency, our outward-facing deliveries. So we never want to make the assumption that we're going to load something to all of our computers and it's going to be transparent. One of the big things that was a lesson learned for us is, please, I know we've been trying to migrate staff to their particular towers from agencies, but from our perspective, it is the best people to have on staff are those which have the knowledge of either your network or your operating environment, your infrastructure from an agency perspective. Keep those folks on site or on your project team, because they are critical to the knowledge transfer that we need to make as a Commonwealth from an agency to the next step for enterprise management. And then same thing for desktop and any of the other applications or steps in transformation. Try to keep the same core, and we have ADMs which are core to all of the transformation steps, but to the extent possible, try to keep continuity of team members throughout the project team. So basically, there are some of the things we very much hope to, by June 30th, have realized all of our transformation goals, but have had a little rocky road that we'd like to share with you, so history doesn't repeat itself. You'll hear probably a lot of recurring themes from the next two presentations, and actually throughout today, but I think that's good. A template has recurring themes to make sure that they're important and that we don't forget them. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Sharon.
Hi, everybody. Val, Elizabeth, and I all did our lessons learned separately, and then when we pulled them all together, we were shocked, because you're going to hear the same thing over and over again, just like Val said. So, for taxation, just want to give you a snapshot on where we are for transformation. We're 100% complete for network, help desk, and desktop refresh. Our server consolidation is 100%. Our remaining server activities are about 50, security about 40%, and we're just getting started on messaging and our server relocation. So we're pretty far along, and so far it's been pretty good. Not that it's been great, but it's been pretty good, and we've learned a lot, and that's some of the things I want to go through with you. The first thing that we learned was, or first thing that we did was accept that it's painful and it is a lot of hard work. We kind of did the ostrich thing for a few days. We stuck our heads in the sand, said it's going to magically do itself, transform, very little impact to us. But that didn't last very long. We figured we needed to assign the staff, we needed to get the people in there, we needed to do the planning, and we needed to not be afraid to disagree with Beta NG when they said we needed to do something in a particular fashion. We started out with transformation for our network, believe it or not, after the RPB move. We did network first, so it was a big undertaking for us. The just say no, we did. We said no a lot. In fact, we told them that they couldn't do any transformation activities for 6 months of the year. But we offered alternatives. We said, we'd move things forward, we'd adjust our schedule, we'd move things backwards, but we learned to say no, and they learned to accept that we said no, so long as we offered them something to go on with. We negotiated so that we can meet both parties' needs. It wasn't easy, it wasn't simple, it wasn't smooth, but we did it. They worked with us. It went okay. We were persistent. We got a plan. I heard in the meetings recently that a lot of people didn't get plans. We wouldn't go forward until we got one. We just said, no, we're not going forward. We required a plan. But we didn't let it stop there. Once we got the plan, we actually looked at it. We offered input. We provided our task and required that they get incorporated into the project plan. We wanted to know what was going on. We wanted to keep people involved. We knew exactly what was going to happen on what times and went forward from there. We had a back-out plan, and we have used ours. We had to back out one of the changes. And they did it. It went well. We planned our workload internally. We let our agency know that there were things, that the nice-to-haves that they would like to do that we weren't just going to get done because we had to dedicate staff to the transformation activities. We made sure we followed and monitored the plan. We invested a significant amount of resources into it. One of our directors spends 50% of his time monitoring and evaluating the transformation activities for us. So we committed as an agency to assign those resources to make sure the transformation occurred in a way that would meet our business needs. It is a give and take process. We negotiate quite a bit with Northrop Grumman to make sure that they get what they want and we get what we want in a way that's not going to hurt either one of us. It's very iterative. We go back and forth on planning what's going to go on round after round after round. The first plan that we get is never our final plan, and that plan is actually never even final until it's over. Another big lesson learned was that VITA and Northrop Grumman can't tell us everything that we needed to do. We had to assess our own impacts. We had to look at the plans. We had to determine how we needed to react, who we needed to assign. It was just a lot of work on our part. We had to own the transformation as much as VITA and Northrop Grumman did. That was a big deal for our agency. We made it our own. I'm not sure that Northrop Grumman always likes that because we do disagree with them quite a bit, but and we're a little bit of pain in their sides, but we get forward, we move on, and that's why we've completed so much of the transformation already. And last, we had a very strong internal technical resources. I heard this mentioned earlier that some people didn't feel they had the knowledge in-house to say that's a good idea or that's not a good idea. We're very fortunate we do. We assigned a very strong technical resource that knows our current environment, understood the environment we were going to, and we assigned resources that understood the business impacts. And that made a big difference on when we could say no and when we should say no. Invaluable. And that is our lessons learned, and now it's Elizabeth's turn.
Thank you. I'll be very, very, very brief. Our lessons learned. Number one, engage your ADM and team lead. Take the responsibility to educate our transformation team so that they know your business and so that they can understand what their actions have on your agency and what impact their actions take. So when you go back to yell at them, they'd say, oh, yeah, you told me that. And that really was invaluable, that first 30 minutes or hour, whatever it takes, it's important. I'm not going to be redundant. I'm going to move on to the next one. Slow down. Everybody is busy. But if you can just slow down and communicate, ensure that your agency is not left vulnerable to any IT security breaches before, during, or after any transformation activity. Because, frankly, your agency is the one that's still accountable. I found that out. So ask for the reports. Ask for your access control lists so that you can show Mr. Auditor when it's time that you did due diligence. Okay? Just cover yourself. The transformation team actually has a really good model. but they sometimes need to be reminded to deliver exactly what they said they were going to deliver, and to deliver what they said they were going to deliver correctly. I really have enjoyed working with the partnership. They're really professionals, and they have to be professionals to put up with me. So my last slide here is, in the end, there's never too much communication. There's never too much documentation. And try to stick to the facts when we're trying to resolve an issue, and try to keep the emotion to a minimum. And I try to practice that every day, even though my tower leads may not agree with I don't always practice what I preach. And know that, have trust and confidence that the partners are trying to do what is right, and eventually they do get it right. And have a little lightheartedness and levity, because in the end, it's a really tough road. Thank you.
Thank you. Hang out for a second in case there are any questions. Any reaction questions, please?
For that aviation, how big is your IT staff in each of the agencies?
Well, yours is probably you.
And actually, we're a little bit unique. We let everybody go to the IT partnership. I am the AIDR, ISO, PM, and POC. We're a little bit unique in that, but I do have a very technical background. We have 300 seats.
Tax has about 80.
80 in the IT area.
80 in the IT area.
Val?
We have about 12, and they're all associated with application development.
And I think each of you said a significant amount of time on the part of your IT personnel. What advice would you give to small agencies that have zero IT as a result of the transformation?
Embrace your service delivery team. They are invaluable. Lots of donuts.
So if I were to summarize there are a couple of key points to your comment. We have this sort of dual hat of speed with caution, but they don't necessarily mean one comes at the expense of the other. In many cases, if you're prepared on the front end and have the conversation about an integrated plan, I think we could actually get to end game faster. So it may seem, the jokes and the laughs on the confrontational nature of it, but actually the point is, if we get to a common plan that we are comfortable with, we move forward. For those agencies that lack the analytical rigor to judge whether or not the plan presented to you is realistic or is fraught with security risks and so forth, we need to have a dialogue about what that would mean. And I don't have a good answer for you, because I can't miraculously produce experts who know how to fly planes that understand the instrumentation. But that is going to be a topic we're going to have to keep addressing. We've tried in the partnership to respond to those agencies' needs by having the same level of service for all, even though tax may be bigger and have capabilities. Am I not loud enough? So let me ask this, before our three experts stand down. Any questions for them about their experiences and lessons? I'll give you one more takeaway from what they've said before I let them go. But anyone else, questions or reactions for them? Well, thank you both. Thank you all three very much. Let me say this. And I think Sharon may have said this, but I want to reinforce the message. We will have to prioritize transformation over other initiatives that we're working on. That will not be obvious or easy. We all have priorities and things that have to get done. But there may be some things on your queue that you might delay a couple weeks or a month because transformation activities trump. I think the Chief of Staff's presence here today suggests to you that this is the Commonwealth's priority. You have agency priorities, but where you have some flexibility. You heard Sharon say your IT team told Janie that for some projects they had to delay a little because we had to focus on transformation. That may not feel natural, but I think if we can keep that in mind, the priority of the Commonwealth is to achieve transformation, that some things may be traded off. Acknowledging that is, I think, a key lesson that I've heard from Sharon above and beyond the other pieces.